Welcome to 5 Steps to Writing Super Good Personal Comedy. Thanks for being with us in this live recorded webinar. So great to have you with us tonight or today, as the case may be. We have people from all over the world here on this webinar. We have people from Kansas. We have people from Guam, people from Denver, Boulder, Fort Collins, as well as Asia. So welcome. Yeah. So this is a quick guide to writing jokes from your own point of view. So let's get into this. We are talking about a particular genre of comedy, personal comedy, and there's tons and tons of different kinds of comedy styles and genres. There are slapstick and observation and storytelling. I don't need to read you every single one on this slide, but you can tell there's a gazillion ways you can express yourself comedically. But we're talking specifically about personal comedy. What is personal comedy? That is comedy written from an individual perspective that shares your life experience with the audience. So it's about you from your perspective. So it includes stories and anecdotes and other details from your life. Why personal comedy? Because personal comedy allows us to accept and embrace our humanity. So for example, if you're sharing information about yourself, you're making jokes about something that you've experienced and I recognize it, I'm going to laugh in recognition, and you accepting that in yourself is going to have me accept it in myself. That's what I mean by we all get to accept and embrace our humanity. The more you show about yours, the more I can accept in mine. It's a richer, more substantive form of comedy, in my opinion, IMO, because it's actually real and it has people be human and honest and vulnerable. And to me, that is far more interesting, far more relevant, and makes a much bigger impact than other kinds of comedy, although there's room for everything, of course. And then it's also entertainment based upon relationship. It's not me just talking at you, telling jokes at you, informing you. It is our relationship that creates the foundation for our entertainment experience. And then I think it has, again, in my opinion, a greater impact because it has a personal impact on you and your experience of life than other forms of comedy. So let me tell you what personal comedy is. And good personal comedy is not therapy. It's not a confessional. It's not information that you reveal and you feel compelled to reveal because you need something from the audience. You need the audience to get you. It's not venting or processing or victimizing. It's not self-deprecating, belittling, or apologetic. So, self-deprecation is basically sharing information from a perspective that there's something wrong. There's something wrong with me, or there's something wrong here. And good personal comedy shares information about you, but not from a perspective of there's something wrong. And it's not asking the audience to feel sorry for you or to agree with you that you've been victimized by something. And it's unapologetic. That's really important. So great personal comedy is truthful, it's relevant, and it's empowering. You get to express something that resonates with you in a way that others will recognize in themselves. Another way to say it is that it's comedy from the inside out. So a few people that do personal comedy, pioneers in personal comedy, comedians that you might know are Maria Bamford, who talks a lot about, who's open about her mental illness, and Mark Maron. He has a famous podcast, has talked a lot about his experience in relationships and in his career. Tig Notaro, if you haven't seen her set in Largo, she did that amazing vulnerable set talking about having just learned she had cancer right after her mother passed. A very, very inspiring set. Mike Birbiglia, he talked about, sleepwalking. Janine Garofalo, who has many strong points of view, but also shares her experience in, revelations in how she sees herself. And then Patton Oswalt, who also shares his experience. More recently, his wife died a couple of years ago, and he has shared in his specials about his experience in being a single father and in grieving. So these are all people that are masterful comedians that share their life experience. So they are what I would call personal comedians. So here's an example of a joke. This is Maria Bamford. I never really thought of myself as depressed so much as paralyzed by hope. So there again is a little insight into her experience with depression. And then Mark Maron, I feel bad for people who've never been addicted to anything because they're the real losers. You want to know why? Because they don't know what it's like to really want something and then get it again and again and again. And Mark Maron has been very open about his addiction and his recovery. Janine Garofalo's joke, here would be my Valentine's card that I think I'm going to send to my boyfriend. Things have been going well thus far. I will find more ways to become unavailable to you. And Mike Birbiglia, I don't smoke a lot of pot anymore. Nobody wants to hang out with a guy who ends every sentence with, do you guys hate me? Okay, so let me give you a few examples of jokes in personal comedy from participants of Stand Up the Workshop. So this is Carol Shannon's joke. I'm a very nice person. Friends tell me I'm too nice. I don't know where that line is exactly. I'm great about letting cars merge ahead of me. I figure 1 car is polite, 2 cars is gracious, 3 cars codependent. I'm 3-car nice. And then another one is, I say sorry when I don't really mean it, so I'm going to start using the word awesome instead. Like at work, I'm awesome, but we have to let you go. Please tell your family how awesome I am. It's better for my self-esteem. I love that joke. Ilan Banami, I'm a synchronistic introvert. People don't come into my life for a reason. And Nina Faust, I can't find a relationship. I think it's because I sleep with men on the first date and then get hypercritical of their table manners. Like, why do you have to slurp your coffee? Do you think we're thinking, that sounds delicious? All of these people, by the way, wrote that for their sets, the very first time they've ever done stand-up comedy. And for some people like Nina, it was the very first time she'd ever been on a stage in her life in any fashion. And all of these jokes express something that they had to burrow underneath to find out about themselves. I just think it's so brilliant. So here's the next question. How do you write a joke? Well, here's a little glossary. First is the point. The point is the argument or the viewpoint that you want to share. It's generally an insight, and it's probably conceptual. Like imagine Nina, which is like, I can't find a relationship because I'm hypercritical. So that would be her point. I can't find a relationship because I'm so critical, right? The premise creates a picture in our mind and shows an example that is ridiculous. So it takes this conceptual point and it makes it ridiculous and paints a picture of it for us. And then a setup. The setup is in the joke. The joke has a setup, a punchline, and a tag. The setup is the information the audience needs to know to understand the joke and not a word more. And then the punchline is the laugh line. That's where everybody laughs. Hopefully it ends with the strongest or funniest word. And then the tag is just a sentence. It doesn't stand alone like a punchline, and it extends the laughter of the punchline. So again, the setup is the information the audience needs to know to understand the joke. This is where most people have to do the most editing, because the longer the setup, the weaker the punchline. The punchline, again, is ending with the strongest, funniest word. There's the tag. So here's an example of a joke I wrote a long time ago. When I was a kid, my mother made me Halloween costumes that were only scary to her. One year I was melanoma. In 5th grade, I was my brother as a homosexual. Of course, I told my friends I was a gypsy. So what's the setup? Well, the setup is when I was a kid, my mother made me Halloween costumes that were only scary to her. Got it. Okay. So then what's the punchline? Well, there's 2. Trick question. There's 2 punchlines. The first is, one year I was melanoma. The second punchline is, in 5th grade, I was my brother as a homosexual. And then the tag, of course, I told my friends I was a gypsy. So specificity is important in crafting a joke. You want to be really specific, because the more specific you are, the more you're creating a picture that we can see in our heads, the more impact the joke has. So notice this. When I was a kid, my mother made me Halloween costumes that were only scary to her. Okay, straightforward, you know. 1 year I was melanoma. 1 year I was melanoma. I didn't say, then there's this one time when I was melanoma. Or once. It was 1 year I was melanoma. And note that I said melanoma. I didn't say cancer. I didn't say like, you know, an ugly oozing tumor that might take people out. Melanoma is a funny word. And the sentence ends with the funniest word, melanoma. I like the sound of it. 1 year I was melanoma. That's got a nice rhythm to it. And then in the next one, in 5th grade. Now I said 1 year, now I've gotten more specific. In 5th grade, I was my brother as a homosexual. I didn't say I was my gay brother 1 year. It ends on the most surprising concept and the funniest word. Of course, I told my friends I was a gypsy. Again, I'm being very specific, and there's a picture that you have in your mind. You want to find a juicy topic in your life, something that is alive for you right now. That's what's really important. So you're going to find that topic. Here's an example. Gary Mason, he did the course recently. He's a single man. He works from home, so he doesn't see a lot of people. And he has friends, but sometimes he feels lonely. So that was what he wanted to express, is that sense of loneliness that he had. That's, by the way, probably the most difficult thing for someone to admit to on stage, is that they're lonely. And of course, we're all lonely sometimes. And then in another example, Elena McMillan had been dating, and she explained it like this. She said she'd sit across from somebody, yet another new person, and find myself either trying to compensate for my insecurities, thinking he was out of my league, or relaxing into superiority, and I never knew how it was going to swing. So she was just wanting to express that she was wildly inauthentic and insecure when she was dating. Okay, so what's the point? What is the idea that the joke is expressing? Well, here's Gary's point. I live alone, I work from home, and sometimes I'm lonely. And Elena's, I can be really superior and arrogant. Okay, so the next is you choose a premise. That's the thesis, remember? So for Elena, the premise that she came up with is, I think I'm smarter than you, which you wouldn't understand because I'm smarter than you. That's how she's using wordplay to get her point across. And Gary says, you know, because I'm lonely, I pretend to watch movies with my deceased parents, which, by the way, was true. So then you plug it into the joke format. So here was Lainey's. I realized I'm an elitist. I'd explain it to you, but I don't think you'd understand. So her setup was, I realize I'm an elitist. The punchline, I'd explain it to you, but I don't think you'd understand. And then for Gary, I'm lonely. When I'm watching movies, I like to pretend my parents are there. I'll even repeat some of the dialogue because they were hard of hearing. All right, so there's the joke. They just plugged it into the joke format. Then they did the editing. So it's important to eliminate extraneous words, to be really specific, and to find the strongest or funniest words. So here's how it came out for Gary. I live alone and I work from home, which is sometimes lonely. I watch movies with my dad. Is that weird? He died 29 years ago. I repeat some of the dialogue because he's hard of hearing. So the surprise, of course, is he died 29 years ago, which just emphasizes the loneliness because you immediately imagine somebody talking to themselves to someone who hasn't been there for a really long time. So Elaine's joke was, I recently discovered I'm kind of an elitist. I'd elaborate, but I don't think you'd understand. So she just tightened that up. All right, so the first tip I want to share with you is don't try to be funny. So this is the problem, is that if you're looking for what's funny, you're not going to find it. Do you remember the drunk uncle that would show up at Thanksgiving and he would tell jokes and he'd go, I have a joke for you. And then you'd cringe because you knew you were supposed to laugh and it wasn't going to be funny. Generally speaking, people who try to be funny are not funny. So please don't try to be funny. You're not looking for what's funny. You're looking for what's interesting and relevant to you. And remember, the greater the agenda, like if you have an agenda that they have to laugh in order for me to feel good about myself, the less the connection. Tip 2, le mot juste. That's French for the just word, the perfect word. So you want to find the perfect word. Take the time to think about it. Get really specific. And you want to create a mental image with your joke. Tip 3, edit, 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 edit. Cut it back. Get rid of all those words. Which words? All of them, almost. You're going to think you're done, and then there's more editing that needs to be done. Only use the words absolutely necessary to get your point across. And then, of course, the number one critical component to super good personal comedy is vulnerability. All right, so that requires emotional risk. It's scary to be vulnerable. We're so afraid that we're going to be judged or misunderstood or, condemned in some way. That's what we're afraid of. It's really risky. And as Brene Brown said, what's the greater risk? Letting go of what people think or letting go of how you feel, what you believe, and who you are. And the authenticity paradox. Vulnerability is the last thing I want you to see in me and the first thing I want to see in you. Take off your clothes before I take off mine. But do you see that if you allow yourself to be vulnerable and reveal yourself, others have permission to be the same? That's how you create a deep connection with other people. So, to summarize, honesty plus authenticity plus vulnerability plus jokes equals personal comedy. That's the magic formula. Okay. Now, I'm guessing that you're in one of three places. You're either like, I'm good, thanks, that was good, that was interesting, I'm done. Awesome. Or I want to go deeper with my writer. Take me to a deeper place. Or I want to go really big. So if you're number one, you're good, you got what you need, you're done now, you'll take it from here. Happy trails, good luck to you. Or number two, you want to go deeper with your writing. May I suggest a self-guided, mind-blowing, multifaceted, jam-packed, possibly life-altering comedy writing course that you can do in your pajamas or your preferred attire when nobody's looking. It's a course that includes training yourself to see the world as a comedian sees the world. It has you discover, deepen, and expand what it is that makes you funny. That's right, you get to find your comedic voice. You can heal your shit, and of course, write your own original stand-up comedy. This is the Inner Comic Writing Course, and this is a self-guided course that teaches you to dig under the surface and discover what your point of view is. You get to write a great joke. You're going to sharpen your writing chops for any genre of writing. You're going to learn to make your point really powerfully. And importantly, you're going to transform your perception of yourself and your life. Ah, that's amazing. You're going to get invaluable writing practices that will help you explore and craft your original comedic material. So these are writing practices that you can use as a healing tool, not just for comedy, and you're going to have them forever. You're also going to get tips and tools and other sources that will expand and deepen your comedic point of view. What's the course include? It has 6 modules. It has in-depth videos of me that guide you through this whole process, the writing practices, the tips and tools to discover your personal comedic expression, simple, effective assignments that's going to teach you how to write and find and write jokes, and to gather your material and links to other videos and sources that will inspire and deepen your comedy writing. All right, the other one is you might have decided that you want to go really big. So if you're the kind of person who's always looking to expand your edge and step into the unknown, like you're ready to do something really big that's really powerful, that's really going to create and alter your experience of life, I would invite you to consider Stand Up the Workshop. This is a live in-person course that takes you through this emotional process of exploring your inner world. It helps you find what's ridiculous about you and your life. You get to write your very own set of jokes. You get to perform in a magical show at a comedy club and in front of a live audience, and it includes one-on-one coaching with me as well as in-person classes. It's awesome. And it's consistently cited by participants as a life-altering experience. This is a course that's going to push you beyond the ordinary and help you break through to a whole new level of awareness. You're going to come out the other side not only knowing yourself as funny, but knowing yourself as someone who can do anything. So if this is something that interests you, please go to standuptheworkshop.com right now. You'll learn more, and you can schedule a call with me, and we'll see if the workshop is a fit for you. So if you decided that you really want to go deeper with your writing and you want to join me for my online writing course, you've got 3 days to get a $100 discount. So the course is normally $297. Oh my gosh, that's hardly anything, a discount off that. But and by the way, you're welcome to wait and not get the discount and just pay full price. I mean, if it makes you feel better. But if you're more inclined to get a deal and you register in the next 3 days, you get a $100 discount. Here's how you do that. You go to standuptheworkshop.com/innercomic and you enter your coupon code innercomic100, and then you get the whole course for just $197. And I'm going to send you an email that has all this information in it, so it's really easy to access. All right, well, that was a lot of information thrown at you in a short period of time. I'll bet some of you have questions. So let's take some questions now. Okay, we have a question from Mahatma Gandhi. Mr. Gandhi, your question is, if I don't like it, can I have my money back? Oh, good question, Mr. Gandhi. I think one of your stronger qualities is that you're very careful. You're not a big spender. You're not a materialist. I get that. So you want to know that if you're going to spend your money, that you're spending it in a good place. Yeah, so the short story is, yep, if you don't like it, you can have all your money back. That's no problem. What I ask is that you do the first 3 writing exercises, and if you don't feel like you're getting anything out of it, take a little screenshot or a picture with your phone, send it to me, and yeah, you get all your money back. That's never happened before. Everybody loves it. So I think you're going to love it a lot, Mr. Gandhi. And then we have another question. This question is from Ivanka. Ivanka asks, how long is this comedy course? If it's the Ivanka that I think that you are, first of all, hello. I think you could use some comedy in your life. How long is this course? Well, it is in a modular system. So as soon as you finish one lesson, one module, you go back and you get the second one. So it's self-paced. It takes as long as you want it to take. So it could take, if you wanted to do like a week, you could take 6 weeks, or it could take, 2 weeks, depending on your own pacing. Thanks for that question. All right, we have time for one more question. And I know we have a lot. I know a lot of you have questions right now. I am actually being inundated by questions. A lot of interest. Thank you. Okay, no, these are just compliments. Thank you. This has been the best fake webinar I've ever been to. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm so glad that you came. Now I really know how to write. Yes, I'm glad you know how to write a joke. That's from Susan. And you have a really pretty voice. Thank you so much. That was from somebody in Russia. And anyway, one more question. Who would that be? Okay, we'll take this question from Ryan Gosling. And he asks, do I have access to you, Kristina, while I am taking this course if I need extra help? Yes, Ryan, in fact, that you do. So here's the thing. As you're taking this course, if you have any questions or you get stuck or you need clarity on stuff, because there's a lot of information, it's juicy, rich, you're going to be like moving through emotional territory and you're going to be writing a lot. Yes, feel free to send me an email. You can email me at any time and I will get back to you within 24 hours. So please feel free to email me with any questions that you have, or if you get stuck or whatever. I'm happy to help. So thank you, Mr. Ghostling. And that is all the time that we have today. Thank you so much for being part of our webinar today. Thanks for your interest in Stand Up the Workshop. I hope that I see you in either the online writing course or the actual live workshop.